The coffee in his mug was still steaming when he said it. "We found someone fresh," Travis began, barely glancing up from his laptop. More energy. New perspective. "It's not personal." He took a slow sip. I didn't. I've been standing there for 18 minutes, by my count, listening to a man half my age explain why 21 years of consistency no longer fit the company's vision. He didn't know what the generator room sounded like in winter. Didn't know why the pressure on line 3 always dipped in April. Didn't know how many systems ran on handwritten corrections I'd taped behind locked panels. He didn't ask, just pointed to the folder on the desk. "There's a package in place. You'll be taken care of. HR will reach out. But today's your last active day." I looked down at the folder. Blue spine. Tabs already labeled. Severance estimate. NDA draft. Return checklist. They'd planned this before my last quarterly review. I nodded once. Not fast. Not slow. Just final. Then I said it. "Then you'll be just fine." He gave a half smile. Relief washing over him like a man who thought he'd handled something difficult well. He hadn't. I turned. No handshake. No backslap. No good luck. Just carpet under my boots. Soft and new. Unlike the old concrete I'd walked when we were just a 2-floor operation with more leaks than staff. I passed the office door, glanced to the left. The spot where I used to hang my keys, empty. The small shelf where my coffee mug sat each morning, already wiped clean. Someone from facilities had moved fast. Back at my desk, people avoided eye contact. Even Noah. He pretended to be typing something urgent, his fingers too stiff, too loud. I didn't blame him. Cowards aren't born. They're shaped by systems that punish loyalty and reward silence. I picked up my mug, a chipped ceramic one with the faded outline of a wrench. My daughter gave it to me in 2008. She was 10, said it looked like me, strong and a little scratched. I wrapped the power cord for my dock carefully like I always did, even now. Opened the drawer. Took my notebook, the black one, the old one. Pages creased, ink faded, but inside, every override code, every emergency path, every fail-safe I'd ever had to invent because the manuals were written by people who'd never stood in a plant at 2 a.m. during a voltage cascade. No one asked for it back. They didn't even know it existed. On the way out, I passed the break room. The coffee machine blinked refill filter. No one moved. I refilled it, not because they deserved it, but because that's who I was. At the security desk, I placed my badge on the counter. The guard didn't look up. The new guy, younger, clean uniform, sharp smile, was already being shown around by someone from HR. He pointed at a terminal I'd helped wire in 2016. Said something about optimizing legacy systems. I just walked past. The sun hit hard outside, brighter than it should have been for a Friday. In the lot, I paused, opened the tailgate of my truck, set my bag down. Then I reached under the liner, pulled out a small black case, locked. I hadn't touched it in 3 years. Inside, archive backups, firmware keys, access logs from systems nobody remembered we had. I placed it gently on the passenger seat, turned the key. The engine caught like it always did, slow, reliable, not flashy. Just like me. At the light near the plant's gate, I watched the reflection of the building in my side mirror. 4 floors now, glass facade, polished nameplate, but I could still see the original foundation beneath it. Still remember where the cracks were sealed, the corners we chose not to cut. They want someone faster, I thought, but speed without memory builds failure. I didn't honk, didn't wave, just drove. First gear, second, no rush. The job was over, but the work? The work had just begun. They used to call me the anchor. Not officially, just something people said when things got tight or when no one else could figure out why the generator wouldn't sink after a lightning storm. I was the guy they called at 3:12 a.m. when sensors went dead or the system threw error codes no one had seen before. Not because I had the most certifications, but because I remembered things the software forgot. 21 years doesn't happen by accident. You stay that long because you know where everything lives, including the ghosts. I kept a black notebook. Every page held something I didn't trust a server to remember. Manual overrides, weird behavior in humid months, quirks in a hydraulic failsafe no one had bothered to reprogram since '09. My day started at 5:40. Coffee, steel thermos. Check the line status before even taking off my coat. Sometimes I caught things before the night shift knew it broke. That was the job. Quiet, precise, unseen. I never asked for recognition, but I knew what would happen if I left. That's why I wrote things down. Noah came in last spring. Fresh out of a tech program, lean, eager, fast with words, and quick to suggest fixes before understanding the full layout. The first time I asked him to trace a faulty pressure loop manually, he blinked. We could just patch it virtually, he said. Until the patch fails, I replied. He learned quick, took notes, respected what he didn't yet understand. There were days he followed me around with a notepad. Other days, he rolled his eyes when I rejected shortcuts. Sometimes I think you enjoy making it hard. I enjoy making it last, I'd say. The plant changed faces every few years. New logos, new managers, same pipelines, same dangers. One of them, I forget his name, tried to automate every valve sequence with a third-party system. It didn't last 6 months. Automation's great until it misses something obvious, like vapor density in a cold room with poor airflow. I saved the plant once. Quietly. Overrode a command that would have ended too early. No plaque. No bonus. Just a nod from the old foreman and a thermos of fresh coffee the next day. That was enough. Martin was there back then. He'd been lead tech for instrumentation. Knew frequencies by ear. Could tune a pump with a wrench and feel. In 2015, they called them an HR for restructuring. Said they were streamlining expertise. I watched him pack up in silence. He didn't speak, just handed me his calibration keys. They won't need these, he said. But you will. Never saw him again. Until last week. He was managing inventory at a hardware store on the other side of town. Eyes tired. Posture smaller. We didn't talk long. Just enough. They said I was too slow, he said. Now I ring up kids who couldn't tell a torque sensor from a thermometer. He smiled. Still not bitter. Just wish I knew how to prove I was worth more. That stayed with me. Because truth is, they don't know what we hold until it's gone. You could train a man on software, but not on instincts. Not on how steel sings before it fails. Not on how a motor smells just before it seizes. They don't teach that. You absorb it, slowly, through years of quiet watching. I wasn't flashy. Didn't talk in meetings unless something mattered. Didn't volunteer for culture events. Didn't post on company forums. But when the grid flickered and the alarms went silent, they called me. Every time, because deep down, behind the budget cuts and buzzwords, they knew who held the line. And now, they're going to find out what happens when that line. Let's go. The first morning without the alarm felt like theft. My body woke up anyway. 5:42 sharp. Muscle memory. I sat up in the dark, waiting for the buzz that never came. The silence was thicker than usual. Not peaceful, hollow. I made coffee. Didn't drink it. Tried reading the paper. Didn't finish the first headline. The house was too quiet for a weekday. Too still for a man who'd spent decades starting machines before the sun. By 7 o'clock, I was dressed. No purpose. Just habit. I walked the neighborhood. Took the long way back. Watched trucks pass with company logos. Not mine anymore. The worst part wasn't the absence of work. It was the absence of weight. When a man has carried the same responsibility for 21 years, setting it down doesn't bring relief. It brings vertigo. That week, I didn't check my email. Didn't go near the black notebook. But I did something I hadn't done in years. Drove to the plant's perimeter just before shift change. Parked across the street. Watched the line of employees walking in. Most of them new faces. Some still carried coffee the way I used to, one hand on the lid, thumb hooked around the handle. And then I saw him. Noah, wearing a new ID badge. Different color. Higher clearance. He looked confident. A little faster in his steps. Carried a tablet now. Wore that, I know what I'm doing posture. He didn't see me. Or maybe he did and chose not to. Didn't matter. I stayed until the sun hit the loading bay, then drove off. By the end of the second week, I started cleaning the garage. Old tools, manuals, worn-out gloves, a whole drawer of labeled parts nobody makes anymore. In a plastic crate, under a tarp, I found a radio. Dusty, heavy, an old Motorola from the 70s. Last time K functiona? I couldn't say. It was the first piece I ever fixed with my dad. I wiped it down. Didn't plug it in. Not yet. On Monday, I stopped by Holt's Hardware for a new tool belt. Not that I needed one. Just couldn't stand the feeling of empty hooks. That's when I saw him. Martin, leaning behind the service counter, restocking welding masks. He looked older than I remembered. Not just in years, in posture. In a way his eyes didn't meet mine until I spoke. You still remember thermal thresholds? He chuckled slow. Depends. You still carry your notebook? I nodded. We stood in silence a moment. Then he said it. They came for me first. Then for Dave. Then for you. I was just the next name on the spreadsheet. He picked up a barcode gun, scanned a box. They called it restructuring. I called it erasure. But I'm still here. Not proud. Not broken. Just here. Still got your hands. Still got your head, I said. Yeah, he answered. But nowhere to put them. That landed. Deep. By Thursday, I got the first call. Not from the company. From a contractor. One of the private firms that serviced the plant's HVAC grid. Hey, you don't happen to still have the calibration logs for the south wing sensors, do you? I didn't answer. Just opened a drawer. Pulled a file marked vent, loop B2. Meet me behind Cutter's Cafe. 6:30. No questions. Just transfer of knowledge. He left a cash envelope. I didn't count. The next week, rumors started. Travis had called an emergency audit after a valve misfire delayed production for 6 hours. No one was injured, but the data trail went cold. The system flagged a fault that never logged. Turns out, the optimization Noah helped implement had disabled a manual verification layer. It wasn't Noah's fault, but it wasn't mine either. Friday afternoon, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Just 2 words. Still running. I didn't reply, but I opened the notebook again. Turned to the section titled Contingency, Ghost Mode. It was something I'd sketched years ago, a hybrid system that could run diagnostics silently without triggering official logs. Just in case. I'd never activated it, but I knew where every switch was. And more importantly, I knew what they wouldn't see coming. That night, I sat in the garage. Lights off. The radio was on the bench. I ran new wires. Checked solder points. Polished the dial until the numbers came back through. Plugged it in. Nothing. Then a hum. Soft. Steady. I turned the dial. Static at first, then a voice. Faint. But there. It worked. Not because it was new, but because someone had known exactly where to touch. I didn't need to break anything. All I had to do was stop fixing. That's the thing they forget about men like me. We don't scream. We don't post. We don't burn bridges. We just step aside and watch what stops working. By the second month, I knew they were flailing. Not publicly, not on paper, but the requests started coming in. Not from Travis. He was too proud for that, but from people around him. Noah sent me a message. Formal, too careful. Hope you're well. Quick question about the old relay sequences in Sector 4. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I logged into an old diagnostic node I'd configured years ago, a gateway buried under a legacy IP string, long since forgotten by everyone except me. What I saw confirmed everything I suspected. Their new system was fast, but blind. Slick dashboards, color-coded alerts, but no substance underneath. Just automation stacked on assumptions. Noah reached out again the next day, this time by phone. Mr. Curtis, I know things didn't end right. I need your help. I stayed silent. I tried to modernize it. I swear I wasn't trying to erase you. I just thought I could handle it, that I believed, and that's what scared me. Because the worst thing isn't arrogance. It's inexperience wearing confidence like armor. One of the pumps surged during calibration, he continued. Almost took down the coolant cycle. We managed to contain it. He paused. but we don't know why it happened. That was the moment he said it. Soft, almost ashamed. You warned me. I didn't listen. I opened the notebook. Page 62. Risk of overload when too much automation layers up. Manual check needed before every update, especially with temperature delays. I'd written that 5 years ago because I'd seen it happen before, because I remembered. That night, I drove to the old substation, the one I used to inspect quarterly, even after they said it was obsolete. I'd kept the key, not because I was planning something, because I knew they'd forget it mattered. Inside, dust covered the floor. Cables still ran like veins. And in the control panel, tucked behind an unused breaker, was the flash drive. The real archive. Blueprints, logs, signatures, and something else. A diagnostic I'd built during the system upgrade in 2017. Not malicious, just a tracker. It recorded every time someone bypassed a safety step without checking real-world readings. The list was growing. The next morning, I wrote an email. Not to Travis, not to Noah, to Miriam, head of compliance. Still there, still precise. We'd worked together on 3 investigations in the past. She trusted me. Subject line, Legacy Risk Protocol, immediate review requested. I attached the surge logs, the tracker report, a copy of my original memo from 2017, with timestamps, internal approvals, and full traceability. I didn't accuse, didn't editorialize, just presented the facts. Then I hit send and waited. 2 days later, I got a call. Blocked number. I answered anyway. Curtis. It's Miriam. Her voice was calm, but under it, tension. I escalated the report. The board has questions. Travis doesn't have answers. I stayed quiet. They want to talk to you. Officially. I took a breath. Let them come. That evening, I got a knock on my door. Noah, out of uniform. No badge. Just jeans and an apology in his hands. I messed up. I didn't argue. You trusted me with something you spent your life building, and I thought new meant better. He looked me in the eyes. I wanted to impress them, not because I wanted your spot, but because I wanted to prove I deserved your time. That hit something I didn't expect, because deep down, I'd seen myself in Noah. Eager, capable, blind to what he didn't yet know. I nodded. You almost broke it. I know. Now let's fix it. Together, we reopened the backup channel, rebuilt the signal paths, put back the manual overrides they had removed. He watched every step, took notes in silence, same way I once did. That week, a second surge was prevented. The log showed it. The board saw it. Curtis wasn't a memory. He was infrastructure. On Friday, my phone rang again. Travis. I let go to voicemail. His message was short. Curtis, we need to talk. Off the record. I listened. Once. Then deleted it. I wasn't done yet. But the board? They were just getting started. Monday came with a different kind of quiet. Not emptiness this time. Focus. At 7:04 a.m., I stepped into the boardroom of the corporate annex downtown. First time back on company ground since the day they let me go. I didn't wear a suit. Didn't carry a briefcase. Just the same thermos I'd used for 21 years, and a USB drive in my pocket with everything that mattered. Miriam greeted me with a nod. Nothing warm, nothing rehearsed, just respect. Inside, 3 directors waited. One tapped a pen, one scrolled a tablet, one tried not to look like he'd been warned. Travis wasn't there yet. Of course not. He arrived 2 minutes late. Expensive haircut, perfect tie knot, a look of strained confidence plastered across his face. He didn't expect to see me in a room. Curtis. No title. No handshake. Just a name said like a problem. I sat. They asked questions. About the incident. The safeguards. The logs. I answered with dates. Protocols. Original memos. All verifiable. All signed. All ignored. Then I showed them the 2017 clause. An internal policy. Archived, ratified, and forgotten. Written during a joint initiative on infrastructure risk, back when no one thought a veteran engineer should be cut out of the chain of oversight. Clause 9b. Any modification to critical system protocols must be approved by the originating engineer or an officially certified successor with documented cross-training. No one had replaced me. No one had been certified. And Travis? He'd signed off on changes he had no legal authority to make. The room fell quiet. Not guilty quiet, corporate quiet. The kind where decisions shift mid-meeting. The kind that ends careers. Outside, on the balcony, Travis found me. Tried a different tone this time. Listen, no one wants to escalate this. We're all trying to move forward. Maybe there's a way to bring you back in. Quietly. As a consultant, you'd have full autonomy. Competitive pay. I let him finish. Then looked him in the eye. I read the reports. You called me outdated. That wasn't personal. You're right. It was worse. It was ignorant. I stepped closer. You wanted someone fresh. Now the fresh ones are calling me at night, asking how to stop things from catching fire. He didn't respond. I could have exposed everything. Every document. Every corner you cut. Then why didn't you? I paused. Let the weight hang. Because fire doesn't cleanse. It scars. And I didn't build this place to burn it. He offered his hand. I didn't take it. That evening, back in my shop, I opened a folder I'd been building for months. Black Book Systems, my company. Registered. Insured. Independent. High-level diagnostics. Field consulting. Legacy system recovery. I'd already secured 2 contracts. One of them with a former competitor who used to mock our old-school plant. Now, they wanted someone who could translate between generations of hardware. They wanted me. The next morning, Noah showed up at my garage. Car full of notebooks, wires, and questions. You hiring? I smirked. You still too quick with fixes? Only when I don't write them down. He handed me a sealed envelope. Inside, a letter of resignation from the company. They asked me to stay. Said I had potential, but I don't want potential. I want mastery. I nodded, then gave him a wrench. Start with the AC unit in the back. It's humming wrong. He smiled. No fanfare, just the start of something better. 6 months later, I opened my shop at 6:12 a.m. Not because I had to, because that's when the world felt right. The light through the side window hit the workbench the same way it used to in the plant's tool room. Soft, clear, honest. I brewed coffee the way I like it, strong, no sugar, metal mug. Outside, the new sign was up. Black Book Systems. Diagnostics. Recovery. Precision maintenance. Experience never fails. No branding agency. No corporate pitch. Just truth, printed in steel. The lot out front had 2 work trucks now. One black, one gray. Nothing flashy. Just reliable. On the passenger doors, Black Book Systems. And underneath, in smaller font, founded by C. Curtis. Inside, Noah was already at the side table, sketching out a circuit map. He'd stopped trying to impress. Started listening. He was quick still, but slower where it mattered. He called me Curtis now. No, sir. Respect doesn't need titles. Last week, we finished a job for a pharmaceutical plant that had lost 2 production days in 3 months. Their tech team had credentials. What they lacked was memory. We found the issue in 12 hours. Old sensors misreporting due to a vibration chain reaction no one had tracked since 2004. I had. Page 117. Notebook 1. They shook our hands. Offered a full retainer. I said no. I don't do retainers. I choose my jobs and who I solve them with. They nodded. Didn't question it. They knew why. That evening, I stayed late. Not to finish work. Just to be present. The hum of the power strip. The smell of metal and oil. The feel of quiet earned. I opened the drawer under the main bench. Pulled out the Motorola radio. I'd rewired it. Tuned it by ear. Set it on the table. Plugged it in. The dial glowed faintly. Noah had never seen it work. I turned the knob. Static. Then a voice, clear, distant. Didn't matter what it said. What mattered was that it still spoke. Because someone had known where to touch. Just before close, Martin stopped by. He didn't knock, just leaned in the doorway with 2 coffees and a box of screws. Saw your truck last week. Knew you weren't retired. I adjusted the timeline, I said. He laughed. sat on the bench across from me. Didn't say much, just looked around. The tools, the parts, the flowchart Noah had pinned by the wall. "You build it right this time," he said. "This time," I nodded. "No one gets to restructure it but me." He smiled, and for the first time in years, I saw pride in that man's eyes again. At closing, I turned off the lights. Noah was gone. The lot was still. I locked the side door, paused, took one last look at the workbench, the radio, the wrench, the clipboard with next week's install. Everything in its place. Nothing urgent, nothing broken, just steady. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel replaceable. I felt built in. They erased my name. Now it's on the invoice. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.